I ran across what looks to be another interesting video here on TikTok, and I want to play it for you here, and we'll talk about it at the end. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let's jump in.
I wonder why the Democratic Party doesn't provide a real alternative to the predatory capitalism, inequality, and imperialism of the Conservative Party. Here is exactly why. The Democratic Party was never meant to be that alternative. Historically, it's a social democratic party established to protect the interests of liberal capitalism in its basic form. In fact, it's been explicitly anti-left and anti-communist in the past. Both of the primary U.S. political parties serve the same master, capitalism. The core job of social democracy is to offer basic welfare policies to the working classes while protecting capitalist interests. But here's the catch. These policies are only possible through imperialist practices. Why? Because imperialism protects our own economic growth by exporting poverty to weaker countries. Right now, that's the whole global south. This exportation sustains the perpetual growth of imperial capitalism. It also pacifies the working classes in powerful nations by giving them the illusion of prosperity and social equality, thus subduing their revolutionary tendencies. Think of your company's HR department. You might assume HR is there to protect you, but really, HR exists to protect the company from you. They offer temporary fixes and scripted conversations to legally shield the company from the retaliation of disgruntled employees.
Let's go back and watch that. I want to look at this.
To protect
right, let's pause it here. As an HR leader, I can't tell you how many times an employee came to me with a sensitive concern and I was prevented from telling them the full story. Why? Because my job was to protect the company, not the employee. You know, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. All right, let's continue.
Company from you. They offer temporary fixes and scripted conversations to legally shield the company from the retaliation of disgruntled employees. Similarly, the Democratic Party doesn't exist to fight for the interests of working classes, but to protect the interests of the ruling class from them. But U.S. imperialism is hitting all sorts of barriers. We can't grow our empire like before, so we can't export our poverty as efficiently. That is why we're seeing the collapse of the working classes in America. If the empire can't function as it always has, the Democrats can't fulfill their promises. Many self-described liberals think liberalism is about human rights, equity, and progress, but fundamentally, it's about capital accumulation. When sacrifices must be made under liberalism, human rights and equity are always sacrificed before profits. Social Democrats began as a movement to change the Democratic Party from within. But this was rejected and abandoned, leading to the formation of the Democratic Socialist Party. This is one of 1,000 examples that demonstrate that reformism doesn't work within the Democratic Party. It never has. They claim to allow gradual incremental change, but it doesn't happen. You can't reform a system designed to reinforce.
Let's read this. Reforms are granted by the ruling class in order to pacify revolutionary action. They can be revoked any moment since class society itself remains intact. Rosa Luxemburg.
And preserve the control of a particular class. Social Democrats try to save capitalism by giving it a different aesthetic appeal, but they'll never actually allow it to be acknowledged that capitalism itself is the root of the problem.
Oh, this looks good right here. Problems of capitalism. Again, I want to be very clear. You know, I do consider myself a free market person, or I like freedom, period. You know, let's read this here. Problems of capitalism: inequality, monopsony. I've never heard of that one. Maybe something to do with singular. Immobilities, environmental costs. Sure, there is that, right? Rape and pillage the land at all costs. Short-termism. Yep, there's a lot of that. Begin rape and pillage the land at any and all cost. If you haven't seen The Story of Stuff, that's a fantastic documentary on how, on the short life cycle of many products we use in the world. This is why I'm not too keen on being a good little consumer. Monopoly power, yep. Economic instability. Okay, let's continue.
Capitalism is fundamentally grounded in profit maximization, but the rate of profit always falls. To delay this, capitalism employs imperialism, which is basically extracting profit from other countries to temporarily offset diminishing returns and give the working classes the illusion of relief. But human rights and economic gains can never be sustainable under capitalism because they're ultimately not profitable. Until we address the truth that capitalism is the fundamental problem that requires...
Let's read this. Imperialism is capitalism. And I believe he's talking, when he says imperialism, I think he's talking about going over to other countries and taking their stuff. That I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding as it stands now. Imperialism, which is like spreading your empire. That's the way I understand it. Imperialism is capitalism at that stage of development at which the dominance of monopolies and finance capitalism is established, in which the export of capital has acquired pronounced importance, in which the division of the world among the international trusts has begun, in which the division of all territories of the globe among the biggest capitalist powers that have been completed. Vladimir Lenin.
Imperialism to exist and then change our course, our eventual fate as an imperial empire is sealed. This is why the U.S. is one of only 2 countries in the United Nations that refuse to ratify the Declaration of political and cultural rights. We consistently refuse to acknowledge that economic rights are fundamental to human rights, because to do so would mean the end of our empire. Empires and human rights are incompatible concepts. So what's the takeaway? We need to
He makes a good point about that.
Rethink the systems we believe are working for us. Real change won't come from parties designed to maintain the status quo. It's time to address the root causes and not just the symptoms. America can't continue to survive as a capitalist empire, just like humanity can't survive as a capitalist species. We've got to change. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be profitable? Probably not. Is it going to be possible? I have no clue. But is it absolutely necessary for the survival of our country and the global community as a whole? Yes, it is. There is no other way. Do you ever...
Well, he makes a good point. You know, I don't think you've got to convince anyone that there are problems. My understanding is that now the federal government, especially after Trump got in and sent out his letters saying, hey, you know, do you want to leave? Do you want to leave now, or do you want to, you know, try to weather the storm? We know shit's breaking down, and regardless of why it is, I mean, I get a little bit irritated at the government whenever they come to, you know, cut jobs when they're spending enormous amounts of money, taxpayer dollars, on weapons and bombs and stupid shit, all the stupid shit that they spend their money on. I get irritated at that, but that's in the past. Like, be that as it may, we do have to make some changes. The problem is you don't want the people making the changes to be the people that have been running the show for the last 200 years. Like, those are the people you don't want making changes. That's when you get things like your Larry Finks and your BlackRocks, I mean, coming in and quote unquote saving the U.S. economy when the housing crisis happened in, was it '08? You know, I mean, this is the stupidest shit ever. Or Wall Street, or you know, politicians bailing out Wall Street and kicking the can down the road. Like, those solutions are stupid. It's a stupid thing to let the fox come up with the solution for how to manage the hen house. Like, it is stupid. You can't even fathom it. But at the time, I didn't see it. I didn't know any better, but COVID woke me up. I think a lot of people woke up. I like this guy here. He seems to be speaking facts. I mean, I still am under the illusion that capitalism is better than communism, but who knows? Is that complete bullshit? I don't think so, because I listen to a lot of people that come from communist countries and they say it's shittier over there, you know, lots of shittiness over in communist countries. And so I'm not certain to go down that road yet, but we do have a problem, and we got to be asking the tough questions, and we've got to not be giving these leaders any more of our time and attention and expecting them to solve the problem. My solution, you know, people always say, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? My solution is get as far out of their freaking way as you can in every system that they have a monopoly on. The healthcare system, first of all, get as healthy as you can, eating natural foods and diet and lifestyle changes. The money system, be as self-sufficient as you can, because, you know, it's already crashed a number of times and people lose a lot of shit. Again, '08, early 2000s, recession in the 80s, 70s, all caused by these people. Like, they cause them all. Most importantly, remember the Great Depression, right? They cause all these problems. The Great Depression happened after Congress gave the Federal Reserve the power to regulate our monetary supply so we wouldn't have problems like that. In 1913, they created the Federal Reserve Act, and that was, in my understanding, to alleviate problems like the Great Depression. And lo and behold, what do we have 10 or 13 years later? The Great Depression. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I found this to be really interesting. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you in the next one.